Hello everyone, I'm Randy Floyd of Midwest Anxiety, and you're watching the second episode of Ask Randy Floyd Show. You bring the questions, I'll bring the answers. Bring it. Feeling good today. We're at Lamar's Donuts, Overland Park by the KU Edwards campus. Feeling really good. This is my big 4-0 birthday today. I want to give a special shout out to those that are joining us live, our online support group we've got here. Our online support group's joining us live through Facebook Live. So feeling really good. It's a good day. It's nice, sunny outside. Looking forward to the weekend. Hi, morning. We're just here at Lamar's, and Lamar's is a special place for me. It is my favorite donut place. One of the special reasons why I like Lamar's is that every Friday I've made it a routine since my kids were really small to go get donuts on Friday. So we've just made it that routine every Friday to get donuts. And kind of over the years we've spent a lot of time at Lamar's. We go between Lamar's and Krispy Kreme and Dunkin' Donuts and KC Donut. This is my favorite of all the places. So on my 4-0 birthday, I wanted to shoot it at Lamar's. Also being Friday, also wanted to, just this being a day that I come here with my kids, I don't know, it seems kind of special. So really excited about filming the second episode here from Lamar's. Gonna go to the Royals game this weekend, see the Atlanta Braves. Actually, my oldest son just turned 13, so we're taking a group of 5 down to the Royals, and we get special access this weekend, which I think is going to be really fun. So really enjoy that. I think it's going to be nice outside this weekend, so going to enjoy the weather. Tomorrow we've got Be Kind Kansas going, and we're going to go to Lawrence and just congratulate the seniors and spread some kindness on Lawrence. And then we're going to go to Topeka and go to the NAMI walks and really be around people that really enjoy spreading awareness about mental health. And we totally are on board with that, just making the conversations around mental health a normal thing to talk about, really decreasing the stigma. So I'm here at Lamar's, got one of my favorite donuts here, the glazed donuts. I do want to give a special shout out to one of our therapists that we hired. We just recently hired 3 new therapists as we're going through an expansion here. So I want to give a shout out to Erin Taylor. She'll be doing some work for us in Douglas County. I also want to give a shout out to Kelsey. Kelsey's going to be graduating this from KU this weekend, and then she's also getting married in August. So Kelsey, definitely want to give a shout out to Kelsey. And then Michelle Bunch, I want to give a shout out to Michelle. Michelle stopped by and actually gave this card to me. It's a birthday card she handmade, and it says, grass is only greener where you water it. And I truly believe that, and thank you, Michelle, for doing that. That's very special. So anyway, I think what we should do is we should just get into the show. Bring it. I have a daughter who has OCD. Do you have any tips for me? I'm going to take a bite of my donut here before I answer that question. Pretty good. Pretty good. Just the original glaze. All right. Great question. Yeah. So there's a variety of ways to answer this, and kind of on the Ask Randy Floyd show, we're going to stay kind of in theory mode here. We can't really go deep into these questions because we know that a lot of your situations are different, and that's something that we would have to know more about your situation. But just from a perspective of being a family member, being a mom, being a dad, what we really have to start to understand about parenting a child with OCD or anxiety disorders is to know your role. And as the parents, we always talk about we love our parents that we work with. Generally, the parents we work with are all good people and love their children. Sometimes we say they love them too much. I know that's kind of weird to hear, love them too much. But sometimes with their own love, that they don't want to see their child going through any challenges or any difficulties. And so sometimes out of convenience or comfort or whatever it might be, they just help their child when they're being anxious. And certainly as we're talking about OCD and these potential rituals or whatever that your child's experiencing, sometimes you can kind of give into those things. And for the short term, that probably makes it easier for you in the short term. But in the long term, you just have to keep doing this and doing this and doing this. And so really kind of the relief that you're getting is more of a short-term relief than a long-term relief. And probably you're thinking your goal, and I'm thinking your goal is probably to have that long-term relief. So what we really have to start thinking about is how you provide that long-term relief. And what I would encourage you to think about today would be is your own role in helping that anxiety and those obsessions and those compulsions continue. If it's something that you have a role in, so I've heard a parent say, yeah, I have to do this before bedtime, I've got to do this, or worked with someone before that they had to have their toilet paper just torn off perfectly, and they would ask mom and dad to do it because they couldn't do it perfectly themselves. And so you really have to look at that and say, okay, well, it sounds like a good idea just to go and do it, but in the end, really, you're probably just continuing that anxiety and that OCD along. So really, the goal would be hopefully to kind of talk with your child, and just kind of start to work with them around, well, it sounds like that's the anxiety talking. And sometimes I like to externalize these issues and kind of have your child and you start to understand of how maybe we're going to do something differently than what the anxiety says. And so while at first it may be difficult, because your child probably is going to get upset and may think that you don't love them and that kind of stuff, you really have to stop doing your role and your part in giving into those rituals, and just tell your child, I love you so much, but I can't continue to do this for you because actually this is making it worse for you. Maybe making it easier, and we really want to validate that. It may be making it easier for you now, but we're going to have to do this again tomorrow or the next day or whenever else. So I really think just speaking to your child about that, and then also having them start to understand that your goal, and hopefully their goal, is not just for the moment but for the long term, is for you guys to partner together and determine kind of maybe what a plan would be. Maybe it's a gradual plan where you instead of stop doing it all together, it's maybe you just kind of decrease it gradually over time, where maybe instead of, if it's every day that you're helping them with the rituals and those things, maybe it's 4 or 5 times a day or a week, or if it's every day for a week, maybe it's 4 or 5 times a week. I think that's a good place to start. Certainly there are a lot of things involved in that, but just wanted to give you some thoughts on that to kind of get started. I'm going to actually put the links to all these resources that I give you in the description of this video, but this is a great book. It's a question and answer book by Patrick McGrath. So the OCD answer book, hopefully check that out. That gives you some great content in it. Another one is the OCD workbook. The OCD workbook is great. It's actually got a whole section for family members. Just talks about your role as a family member. So definitely check that out also. So the OCD workbook and the OCD answer book. I'll provide links for those in the description. Randy, you talk a lot about having skills. If you could pick one super skill, what would it be? Great question. Super skill. Kind of like superpowers with the superhero. We're talking about super skill in our own lives. And that super skill, I just blurted it out a little bit. That super skill, I believe, one of a key super skill to have is self-awareness. Self-awareness is a huge thing that I really try to talk with people about and just start to develop that. As we're talking and someone, they may get angry with us for some reason, and how are we present in that? Can we start to look at that and go, okay, how am I thinking about it? And when I talk about super skills, I really talk about 3 different areas. Kind of how am I thinking? So what is my thought when someone gets angry at me? Am I going to get angry back at them? Well, yeah. Or can I slow that down a little bit and can I say, okay, they're angry at me. All right, what are my thoughts? Well, they shouldn't be angry at me. Or, okay, maybe another kind of self-awareness might be, okay, Randy, they're angry. If you get angry with them, then they're going to get angry back with you. So being able to slow that down and go, okay, maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe, I don't know. But being self-aware and with your thoughts and knowing, okay, now how am I going to go after this? How am I going to present myself in a way where I'm not going to contribute to that negativity and those things? So really always doing some searching with your thoughts on that. And so focus on your thoughts, your feelings, and how physically am I feeling inside? Do I feel my heart racing? Am I getting tense? And if we're still talking about that person being angry with you, just to be self-aware of that. We've heard of these terms called mindfulness. I think that plays into it a little bit. How present can we be in situations is really important. How present we can be is really important. So how we feel physically and then emotionally. Kind of what is my emotion at the time? Am I sad? Am I angry? Am I frustrated? Am I happy? And then behaviors. Being self-aware of our behaviors is really important. Because with our behaviors, we can really, kind of help out situations with our positive behaviors, or we can really kind of make situations work with our negative behaviors. So, part of the goal would just be to be self-aware and know that maybe you can't change the world around you of all the things going on, but certainly we can change this. We can change our heart and our mind. If we can work on our heart and our mind and being self-aware of those 2 things, then hey, I think we'll definitely be in a better place. We'll be happier. It doesn't always work. Self-aware, that skill isn't always 100% something that you'll have. I mean, there are times, we're not perfect, but that self-awareness is a huge super skill to have. So hopefully that helps. My child struggles with separation anxiety and has trouble sleeping on his own. Any suggestions would be helpful. Awesome question. So, separation anxiety is one of those things that it can happen in a lot of different places and areas. It can happen, maybe potentially when a child's separating from you at bedtime. So maybe a child wants to sleep with you at bedtime. Maybe it's activities that's around where, going to school. Definitely see a lot of that and work with a lot of kids as they're being dropped off at school. Just won't get out of the car, won't go to class, won't do those things. So I see that, different sporting activities, sleepovers, there's a lot of situations that this could potentially come into play. And so I guess I want to focus here on a minute, not necessarily about your child, but focus. I'm going to go again here on the parent side of things. Again, I know these questions these answers I give you aren't necessarily always going to just fit who exactly your situation, or the answers I give you won't necessarily be the full detail that's going to just totally help you out. But I want to start to help you think about kind of maybe some things. I've got a book here, Anxious Kids, Anxious Parents. Anxious Kids, Anxious Parents. Show that to our support group here, Facebook Live. Anxious Kids, Anxious Parents. Definitely should check this out about separation anxiety. And where I'm going to go with this, this is by Lynn Lyons, Reed Wilson, great anxiety people. Reed Wilson, Lynn Lyons. Where I'm going to go with this question is on the parent side of things. So when we think about separation anxiety and your child being fearful, potentially fearful that something's going to happen to them or you, really we got to set it up where, as a parent, you provide confidence for them that they can do these things, that this self-confidence, that they can develop this confidence. And sometimes that happens by just naturally the two of you guys, you and your child, separating from each other and going, you can do this, you got this, you can handle this. I want to be careful not to provide them too much reassurance, because then that starts going into they're needy for that and they need that from you, and then that can develop into that they have a lack of confidence because you're always providing that for them. But really, as a parent, you got to set them up and you got to instill that confidence. Sometimes, as the book says, anxious kids, anxious parents, and the other way, anxious parents, anxious kids. If we allow our own anxiety to filter down to our children, and they pick that up, that we've got our own anxiety about a situation, then they start to develop that, and then they don't necessarily have their own confidence. So we really got to check our own, Facebook Live, we got to really check our own our own anxiety in this. And so, one example, a quick example, is a mother that, notice I haven't eaten much of my donut yet. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Mom. I'm trying to chew with my mouth closed. Got anything on my face here? All right. That we got to check our own anxiety. And the classic case of a situation is I had a mother that was anxious about their child. Now we have to know what's age appropriate. That's part of this here. But was anxious about their child being in the backyard without them. Really from safety reasons, really no legitimate concerns. It was just the parent was feeling anxious. How are they doing? Are they getting hurt? Are they still in the backyard and those things? So the parent would go out every 5 minutes and check on them and see if they were okay. So, Joe, are you okay out there? So come back in. Joe, are you okay out there? So the child picked up on that and really started to feed their anxiety. And so I guess kind of on this question here, I just really encourage you to look at your own anxiety, and see if you're how anxious you are with your children. Come to bedtime. There's a lot of things that we could talk around bedtime here and that kind of stuff. But your child's sleeping with you, and you say, "It's okay. Come on in here. You're fine." What message are you giving to them when you're saying that it's okay to sleep with you? I know that's a very sensitive issue, and we start talking about separation anxiety. Sometimes folks, when we start to talk about disconnection and that stuff, which I think is important. To spin in a positive way, that this is actually a good thing, that you're separating from developing that independence and those things. I know sometimes folks, especially when they're close to their kids, their eyebrows raise and their ears about this idea of disconnecting. And I'm not saying to emotionally disconnect from your child. I'm just saying find ways to do that, to connect in appropriate ways when they're not anxious and those things. So hopefully that helps. We'd love to give you lots of more nuggets about that. Check out this Anxious Kids, Anxious Parents book. Again, I'll leave that resource in the in the description of the video. So, hope that helps. I am really frustrated by my son's lack of effort. He has so much potential. I try to help him in so many ways, but it just doesn't seem to work. Thoughts? So there's a great video I'll put in the description of this video. Great description that really talks about this. It's a TED Talk, and she really goes into great detail about there's so many different ways to parent our child, and there's how to raise a child basically eating donuts. If you want to raise your child to love donuts, here's how you do it. If you want to raise your child to be this way, here's how you do it. And there's all these messages, and there's such a discussion around what's the good way, what's the best way. And I'm a parent of 3. I don't know that there is a best way. Parenting is tough. Parenting is probably one of my biggest challenges every day, because we get into this anxiety about each day. I believe in behavioral reinforcement and development, and each day what we say to them, what we do. We started getting into this anxiety about, how are they going to take that? What are they going to think about our relationship? Are they, long term, is this going to be helpful for them or hurtful for them? And so being responsible to or responsible for, I definitely would say, and I think the video that I'll link up in this we'll talk about it even more, but responsible for is probably where I would lean towards. No, I'm just kidding, just joking. Responsible to. I wish I could edit that out, but we're all live here, and there's not going to be any editing of this. That was a slip. Responsible to our children, not for. And responsible to is just, we got to provide them shelter and safety and those things, but we can't be responsible for their choices. Certainly we can guide those choices and we can help them try to guide those choices, but they're going to make those choices. We can't make them do anything. We can't make anyone do anything. And we struggle sometimes with that. I wish so-and-so would just do this, or, I wish he would provide more effort, and sometimes you do that. You make them try to provide more effort, and really that kind of backfires at times, because, if I am a child that doesn't want my mom or dad's input, and they tell me I'm going to, provide more input, they probably might do the opposite and not provide that input or that effort. And so we really got to think about, and this is, again, I'm really big on parenting today. I don't know if it's because I'm 4-0. I like that. I'm feeling it today. I don't know if it's because I'm at 40 now and I'm just thinking about my own kids and their development, or what it is, but as a parent, you really got to think about that you're only in charge, responsible for yourself, and and just really take a good, be self-aware, and look at kind of where you're at with your child, and just really hold yourself accountable. Not to say that you just let your child go and you don't have any accountability for them. I definitely think you have to hold them accountable for their positive choices and their negative choices. Wow, the music just got louder in here, so I'm going to have to talk louder. But I think where I was going with that is that you just have to be mindful that you can't force them to do anything. And that, regardless of what the choices they make in their lives, just coming from a place of love and those things is one of those big things, big ideas that I would continue to, just because you don't support their choice doesn't mean that you don't still love them. I mean, we certainly still love our children, that unconditional love that we talk about. So I would encourage you to think about that, and the idea that you can't make them do anything, you can only guide them. So you're not responsible for, but you're responsible to. So hopefully that helps. I know that's a discussion that I have all the time with people, and there's some gray area there. I know about, I'm responsible for because, as they develop, that we've got to give them these certain things and that kind of stuff. But I learned from my children's early age that I couldn't make them do anything. They made choices from a very, very early age. I'm talking like at birth. We had trouble with my son not eating basically like 15 minutes after he was born. And I couldn't make him eat. I tried, but we couldn't make him eat. So making choices very early on in their lives is something that happens, I really believe. So I hopefully that helps. I've enjoyed the time here at Lamar's. This is fantastic. Thank you, Michelle, again, Michelle Bunch. Thanks for stopping in. I'd love to have you guys. I think I'm going to be doing another episode 3 here in a couple days. Would love to have you guys join us. Join Facebook Live. Join our support group. And you'll get in through Facebook Live, providing hopefully a lot of content for them through this also. But go to Midwest Anxiety Facebook, and then go to Midwest Anxiety Support Group and join that support group, and then you'll get live look-ins as we're filming this. So it's been the second episode of Ask Randy Floyd. I think it's great. Gonna have an awesome birthday. I got a lot of cool things planned, that kind of stuff. Hopefully provided some good content for you and some things to think about. I know I can't provide all the details. That's not what this is all about. This is not to kind of solve kind of what you got going on in your life and that kind of stuff, but it's just a way to kind of think about, start to be self-aware. There we are again, self-aware about things in your life, and see if you can find resources and use this this that we're doing, this show, to help you along the way in your journey. So hopefully it's been helpful. Would love to hear your comments in the comment section. And if you have questions, go to our Facebook page, #AskRandyFloyd, #AskRandyFloyd on our Facebook at Midwest Anxiety. Here's a question for you, question of the day. What is your favorite place to go get donuts? You keep bringing the questions, I'll keep bringing the answers. Bring it. So Michelle just stopped by. She's actually, I haven't introduced Michelle yet, but she's a new therapist at Midwest Anxiety, and she just stopped by. Lamar's here. I'm so happy. Is there anything you want to say, Michelle?
Happy birthday, Randy!
Thank you.